Bloody Elbow presents the 6th Round Post-Fight Show, which gives you a rundown and full analysis of the bouts that took place on this weekend's UFC event.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th Round Post-Fight Show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host tonight, or today I should say, it's still practically morning, Dane Fox. Dane, thanks for joining me. We are here to talk about UFC Shenzhen, Andrade versus Zhang, and the crowning of a new women's strawweight champion.
Yeah, I can't say that I saw that one coming. How about yourself?
No. I mean, I was very cautionary all fight week of like, if Zhang can just hang around and hang tough with Andrade for 5 rounds, there's a really good chance she could win this fight. But that was very much if she can hang out for 5 rounds, not, she's just going to go out there and bulldoze her into the mat in 30 seconds.
Yeah, Andrade has faced some of the better competition at strawweight thus far, and nobody's been able to even really stumble her the same way that Zhang did early. And once Zhang had her hurt, she just swarmed. It was elbows and knees and short punches. She didn't stop, and eventually Andrade ended up collapsing. This was completely unseen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but no way in hell I saw this coming.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like, Rose Namajunas hurt her with a knee in the clinch in their fight in the first round. And Angela Hill stumbled her a couple times in their bout. So it's not like Andrade has never been hurt. She even got TKO'd by Liz Carmouche way back in the day. Oh. But it definitely, felt like nobody was thinking Weili Zhang gonna knock Jessica Andrade out.
Yeah, and perhaps I should add an addendum, when I say nobody's really hurt her that same way in her strawweight career. Because she fought about 6 fights at bantamweight back in the day. But either way, since she's made the drop, she's just been a complete beast. And I thank you for reminding me of that Angela Hill fight. That one was good. But anyway, we're here to talk about what happened today or last night, however you want to put it.
Early this morning.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of those types of cards. I enjoy watching them live, but at the same time, I'm not at the point anymore where I'm gung ho enough to stay up till the crazy hours of the morning. But
no, I'm an old man at this point, at least by my own standards.
Same here.
I definitely I thought about, I was up at midnight last night for the start of the card, and I'm like, I could watch the start of this card and get sucked into watching an hour or two and see 2 or 3 fights, or I can wake up and I can watch 5 fights in 45 minutes. Of course, I got to ask if you experienced this, because I did, and I was a little annoyed and shocked by it, but I was watching the replay this morning, and the ESPN Plus replay broadcast of the prelims is like 9 hours long. Just of the prelims? Yeah, of the prelim card. At least for me, maybe it's just an Xfinity thing with them padding it out, but they put 15 minutes of commercials in between every round.
Oh wow, no, that did not happen for me. Wow. I had set it up on the typical DVR recording, and
you put it on. Okay, you DVR'd it, so of course it didn't happen for you. I'm like. This isn't, I'm not DVR. I just went on ESPN Plus and watched the ESPN Plus full recording replay of it.
That makes sense.
And they cut in for their replay. They cut in 15 minutes of commercials between every round, and like 20 minutes of commercials between every fight, so that the whole broadcast was like 8 hours long.
That's ridiculous. No, it's a lot easier to be able to get through the commercials with the DVR. So if I've got that opportunity, I'd just take that.
Yeah, well, this experience was new to me, because I usually, when I have to wake up for these things, Fight Pass in the past was pretty great about it. But lesson learned. All right, let's dive in though and talk about this strawweight title fight here. And Zhang, Andrade did not have a championship defense style, a title defending style. We've seen how great fighters defend titles. it's usually pretty staid, defensive, unthrilling. Andrade is all about being the bull, all about being the wrecking ball, all about being the dominant physical force. And when you get to only fighting title contenders, you're always getting met by the most technical, dangerous opponents possible, hopefully. And this just seemed like this was that coming to bear immediately for Andrade. Just no pause where it's like, well, if you're just going to rush at me with your chin up, swinging hammers at me, I can deal with that.
Well, when you're the champion, you've got the target on your back, and so nobody ever walks into a title fight unprepared.
Exactly.
And just like you said, Zhang was 100% prepared. She knew exactly what Andrade was going to do, and she was ready for it. Andrade opens up with a couple of reckless hooks, just going right at Zhang, and Zhang opened up just kind of picking her apart. A couple of leg kicks here, and then punch here, and Andrade just kept coming forward, and eventually Zhang landed a couple of nice shots. I remember an elbow at first. Andrade kept coming forward. Then there was the punch that stumbled her. And even when Andrade was hurt, she kept swinging. She kept coming forth. And so Zhang just continued to lay into her.
Yeah, they clinched up, and Weili landed several elbows, which could be argued were to the back of the head. Although my personal view on that is that if you're standing and your opponent is facing you, it should be technically impossible to hit your opponent in the back of the head in a way that is your fault.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, they have to be moving their head into a place where the back is where strikes are going to land to the back of it. That's not on the person throwing, to me, and especially because they were elbows right in tight, and she's trying to hit her in the side of the head, and if any part of that elbow connects with the back of Andrade's ear at all, even as it hits the back of the head, that's a legal blow.
Yeah.
So by the rules. So it's very it's not, I hope it's not an argument that colors this for a lot of people, because I honestly don't think that it's functionally either on Weili Zhang to try and avoid hitting Andrade in those exchanges, and it would be incredibly difficult for a ref to see a strike like that and be like, oh, no, that's clearly a shot to the back of the head.
I don't think that there's going to be too much controversy about that. Usually the UFC broadcasts are pretty good about picking out controversies like that. I don't recall any mention of that from Bisping, or was it Fitzgerald that was with him tonight? Either way,
Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I don't remember either of them saying anything. I think people are just going to see this as a monumental moment for Chinese MMA, and rightfully so. I mean, if you remember 5 years ago when the UFC was trying to poke this dragon alive with Tough China, and what a disaster that was. Mm-hmm. It's come a long way. This is an awesome moment for China.
It's very clear that if The Ultimate Fighter was a terrible lead-in to trying to open the Chinese market, I think that the opening of a performance institute there and just a deep scouting of good regional talent, because there's a lot of combat sports going on in and around China. It's not like, you see a guy like Alateng Haile, who has a 25 fight record, most of them in organizations we've never heard of. There's plenty of fighting going on there. So it really was just about getting on the ground and finding people, rather than just opening a door and saying, hey, come to us and show up for a reality show that you don't care about at all.
Yeah. No, I think they realized their mistake once that happened, because obviously they didn't do a sequel to it, and things have improved immensely to the point where we have a new champion who represents the country. So good on them. Yeah,
it'll be fascinating too to see, because they really rushed Zhang to a title shot. It's kind of unfortunate for her. She gets this huge win. It's at a time nobody's watching. I mean, maybe the broadcast in her home country was popular. I don't know, but certainly internationally, nobody was paying attention.
True.
And she did it with only 3 UFC bouts before that, so there's no build up to her narrative arc as a champion. But at the same time, too, what that means is she's faced literally none of the top contenders in that division.
Yep.
At all.
I was thinking the exact same thing. At this point, you know that the remaining contenders are just chomping at the bits to get their shot at Zhang. Whether it's Joanna or Rose getting another shot, just whoever it is the UFC decides they want to line up against her. I almost feel like I'm going to be favoring whoever the challenger is. Just Zhang is so green. I'm not saying that she can't get any better or anything like that, but this honestly just feels like a good stylistic matchup for her in Andrade because she scouted her perfectly. She exploited the holes, and now she's going to be the one with the target on her back. So,
yeah, well, it'll be interesting because, to Zhang's credit, I think the thing that she really has here that is going to make her an interesting title challenger, or title holder rather, is that not only is she a great athlete, clearly she's not huge for the division to the point that she's drawn way out and looks like she shouldn't be fighting up a division, but she's big and strong for the division. She's not going to get out-muscled easily by anyone. If anybody was going to do it, it would have been Andrade. But also, even though she's 30, she's hit her time as champion right at what should be like the peak of her MMA career. With such little build-up, there's not a ton of she's had 21 fights, but most of them just against poor regional competition.
She was crushing cans.
Or even, just fighting okay journeymen and mediocre, like
the best that China had to offer, but it's still not saying a lot.
No, yeah. They were flying in some foreign talent to face her too. But yeah.
True.
She doesn't have, this isn't the kind of thing where you have somebody who, this isn't the Michael Bisping situation where you have somebody clawing their way all the way through the division as an unexpected champion. And then it's like, yeah, but how much time are you going to keep this belt? Mm-hmm. Or even Andrade, who really hit her prime maybe 2 or 3 years ago and has been fighting through it. It won her a title, but she was very much the fully formed fighter that she was going to be. Like, it feels like Weili Zhang is going to have an opportunity to grow and improve as champion through the prime of her career if she can keep the belt. Like, there's a chance that the fighter people have been seeing even and trying to scout even through maybe these first 3 bouts she had is just not going to be who she is as champ at all.
Yeah. And it's possible. Yeah. Who do you think gets that shot? I know I mentioned Rose and Joanna. I don't think it's going to be either of them. I think that they're probably going to throw Tatiana Suarez at her.
Yeah, I was just going to say it'll probably be Tatiana Suarez or maybe I feel like if it was going to be Joanna, they would have thrown her in with Andrade already.
Yeah.
Just because that fight was easy to make and right there. So yeah, Suarez probably feels like the natural contender right now, although she didn't have a great showing in her last bout. It wasn't really the kind of fight against Nina Ansaroff that suggested Tatiana Suarez has to be the title contender right now.
Oh, Zhang beating Torres didn't scream that she deserved her title shot. I understand it was more the fact that, hey, we're going to China, let's get a Chinese title contender. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying they've been worse with their matchmaking before.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be all that surprised if they had Tatiana Suarez. I don't know if Rose Namajunas is even ever going to fight again. She's kind of on a hiatus right now. But I wouldn't actually be that surprised if they had Tatiana Suarez fight another top contender, fight Joanna even. Although Joanna's fighting Michelle Watterson. So
yep, I was about to say that.
That's right. Honestly, it'll either be Tatiana Suarez if they can get this fight to turn around quickly would be my guess, or if they can't and Joanna beats Michelle Waterson, which I expect her to, it'll probably be Joanna.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
That would feel kind of funny if it was Joanna, given that, if she does beat Waterson, she still dropped 3 of her last 5, but...
Yeah, but I got to give Joanna a ton of credit for going up to fight Valentina Shevchenko. That doesn't feel like a loss.
True.
And her second fight with Rose Namajunas was a really good fight. It was a good, tough, close fight against somebody who, quite frankly, just seemed perfectly situated to beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk more than she was perfectly situated to be the perfect long-term champ.
True.
So I would be totally happy to see Joanna get a shot at Weili Zhang. And, it could be an interesting challenge just because, like I say, Zhang is big and strong and she has enough footwork and striking skill that it's not just going to be Jessica Andrade where Joanna can easily play Matador all fight against somebody who's just going to charge ahead and swing wildly at her over and over. So,
StrawWeight is so damn fun.
Yeah, it like I say, Zhang winning this belt, it really just blows the doors wide open for everybody. I mean, even Claudia Gadella's got to be thinking, one win and I could get a title shot. I haven't fought this chick.
Yeah. I mean, think that it's probably going to be 2, but yeah.
It may not be true, but they've all got to be looking at her and thinking, I can get this fight, know?
No, they have to be thinking that. I mean, how many of us were saying after Bisping lost to Rockhold in their first affair, how many of us were saying, yeah, he's never getting a title shot?
Yeah.
You just never know with this sport.
Yep. All right, in the co-main event, Jingliang beat Elizeu Zaleski, and I could not be happier. I know Jingliang had the whole thing, the bad fight in general with Jake Matthews, where there was some eye raking. It was just a really poor performance. It soured him to a lot of people. I'm not going to hold that against anybody because obviously it was a really bad set of fouls and doesn't need to be excused. But I really love watching him fight and watching him win. Like, he's just such a fun, technical boxer in the cage. And he absolutely had Zaleski outmaneuvered from moment one in this fight.
Well, I wasn't necessarily all that surprised that Lee was able to finish off Dos Santos, but it was the way that he did it because, like you said, he was able to technically outmaneuver Dos Santos in a way that I didn't see coming. I thought if Lee was able to turn the fight into a brawl, maybe he could catch Dos Santos' chin. But it wasn't like that at all. He beautiful footwork, like the way that he dodges Dos Santos attacks in that final round when Dos Santos knew that he had to get the knockout. Lee fought the perfect fight, and he ended up getting to finish in the end.
Well, and this is the first knockout loss of Zaleski Dos Santos' career. I realized he wasn't even all the way out. You could argue it was a slightly fast stoppage, especially with only 9 seconds left. But he'd never been finished by strikes before, which is why I kind of figured if Zaleski can catch Jingliang early, which everybody does but him, that he didn't. If he could catch him early, Zaleski's too tough for Jingliang to really be able to just take over the fight later.
Yeah.
And so this to me was just a real beautiful. I mean, it's not an eye-opener because I've been singing Jingliang's praises for years now.
Yes, you have.
But it feel like I didn't expect it. I watched tape on this. I scouted this fight. I'm like, Jingliang's gonna get cracked hard early and finished. And this is a fantastic performance.
No, that I thought the same thing. I thought that this was Dos Santos' fight to win 100% as well. Like I said, it's less the fact that the knockout happened. Like I said, Lee can sling him. He's done that before. And it was just more that he outslicked Dos Santos, because Dos Santos boxing has come a long way from when he first came into the UFC. He's still got those brutal kicks, whether he's slamming them into the midsection, the legs, the head, whatever. He's one of the best pure kickers in the division. Like I said, this was by far the most complete performance of Lee's career as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, really fantastic. Should get him into the top 15 since Zaleski was ranked. And hopefully it gets him a pretty big fight coming up here. Somebody, let's see, I don't know who's unbooked right now at welterweight. There's probably a pretty good fight out there sitting out there for him. Well, there's Vicente Luque doesn't have a fight.
Yeah, but Luque is one of those that I feel deserves a top 10 himself.
Yeah.
I know it would be a long shot, but I'd like to see Luque fight, like, say, Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Magny for Lee. Magny's not quite in the top 10 anymore.
Still working out that USADA suspension, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, shit. That's right.
We don't know what exactly is going on with that. I think they're in arbitration of some sort that will either just result in him being benched for a couple of years, or it'll be, his suspension's only 8 months, and he just had to sit out all those 8 months fighting to figure it out.
Yeah. Chiesa,
isn't ranked, but he's definitely a good long-time vet who's got a couple wins under his belt. So,
well, a part of my issue, there's guys like Ponzinibbio that are sitting in the top 10 that don't have a fight, but I'm sitting here thinking, well, yeah, but I want Ponzinibbio to get a big fight too. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Somebody like Chiesa or maybe Gilbert Burns would probably be most likely what's going to happen. But, to Jingliang's credit too, I think he's making himself a very notable figure in the UFC's Chinese market. Like, he seems really charismatic. Seems like he really gets the crowd engaged heavily. So he might be able to get himself a fight like Ponzinibbio or something like that if the UFC really feels like he's somebody that can drive traffic to an event.
Yeah, no. If they get a good reaction from the Chinese market from this event, and this was the best result they could hope for, if they want that, then there's a good chance that they could push Lee into a fight with somebody like Ponzinibbio.
Yeah. All right. Before that bout, Kai Kara France beat Mark De La Rosa. Solid workmanlike performance from Kara France. Just kind of the more powerful fighter all fight.
Yeah. Improvements in all areas. I mean, nothing major that necessarily caught anybody off guard, but he threw a little bit more with his combinations, a little bit less reliant on just his left hand. Showed great takedown defense because De La Rosa had some spots where I thought he was going to finish it.
Yeah.
Kara France defended it. He even got I think he got a takedown of his own, which, Kara France isn't known for that. It's, like you said, workmanlike performance, the type that I would like to see from him.
Yep. And of course, being the newly torn down and slowly rebuilt flyweight division, that could put him in position for most likely it's a fight with Matt Schnell or Bontarine, but you never know when one of these guys is just going to suddenly be like, oh well, you get a top 5 fight now.
He was asking for a contest with Pantoja, and Pantoja beat him in the exhibition fight on Tough. And there's a part of me that's fine with that. There's another part of me that's like, well, yeah, but Pantoja's just barely coming off of his own loss to. Was it Formiga that he lost to?
Yeah, no, to Figueiredo.
Okay, yes, you're right. That was a great fight too.
Yeah, that was a great fight. Great performance from Davison Figueiredo. But in a division this small with that few fighters, you really any win is going to get you.
I know.
Knocking on the door for something.
I know, and it's kind of frustrating. Brandon Moreno's got a fight coming up. I mean, maybe if Moreno wins that, Moreno and France could be fun.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking Schnell. I'd like to see him fight Matt Schnell. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But before that, welterweight fight, Song Kenan, Derek Krantz. as expected, very much a slobber knocker, at least for 2 rounds. And then a Houston Alexander Kimbo Slice throwback sort of,
Yeah, they made
to being totally exhausted in round 3.
Yeah, they made a lean-to by leaning against one another. It was bad.
Yeah.
But before then, all the credit to them. They came to fight for those first 2 rounds, and they brought some solid action, and both rounds were fairly close. Had no problem with the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, it was fun. It was it was exactly what I thought it would be, except that nobody got knocked out. In that it was a almost pure mirror match.
Yeah.
Like all the way through from the one of them wins one round, one wins the other round, and then both are absolutely the exact same level of totally exhausted for the third.
Yeah. I'll give Krantz a little bit more leeway there because traveling from the U.S. to China is never easy especially if you're trying to cut weight. But it could have gone either way as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure that there's going to be people who felt that Krantz deserved the decision. It's one of those that could have gone either way. Whatever they decided with, I was fine. It was
a fine decision. Kinong, I thought he won. It was whatever, but definitely. It's just so much of this card is just a fight. Like Mark De La Rosa, Song Kinong, Derek Krantz. Like they fought, somebody won. Doesn't really build up to anything. For Kai Kara-France, it does purely incidentally because the division is so thin,
devoid of talent.
Yeah, but
they have fights on their contract that they've got to fulfill. So send them to China. Yeah, no, totally get it.
Yep. That brings us to a catchweight bout, a more interesting bout, honestly, even though it was not more interesting to watch necessarily, but a more interesting sort of watermarking bout between Mizuki Inoue and Wu Yanan. Inoue, the former title challenger in Invicta, and in fact, was she a 2-time title challenger? No, just the one. Former title challenger for Invicta. And longtime prospect, somebody people were talking about the prospect back when she first hit Invicta in 2013, and
she
even
was
then,
19.
Yeah, even when she hit Invicta in 2013, people who were super into the Japanese MMA scene were already like, oh, this girl's really, she's fantastic. She's gonna be somebody. So. Taken a long time for her to get to the UFC, 6 years, but she finally made her debut, and it was very much a strawweight fighting a bantamweight.
No, exactly. Watching that fight, it like you said, it looked like it was one fighter fighting another fighter 2 weight classes up. Mm-hmm. And at one point, that absolutely would have been true, and Inoue is a natural strawweight. That's where she's fighting, but. Holy crap.
I wonder about that, too, if this is a last-minute thing where she just took a fight at 125 because it was late notice, or is it because she's now 25 and not 19, and she's just going to move up to 125 pounds? Because if that's the case, she didn't really look like a natural flyweight still.
She's good sized for strawweight, but Wu. Let's see here. Who was Wu? Carolina, wasn't it? Wu was originally scheduled to face Carolina, I believe.
Oh, Yanan Wu. Yeah, Luana Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, and that ended up getting canceled due to injury. And I admit I haven't heard anything definitively whether or not this is a permanent move for Inoue, but given the late notice of it, my guess is that this is simply her coming in on late notice, and because she can make the cut to 125 relatively easily, given she's naturally 115er. So I would imagine that she's going to be dropping to 115, which I think that she still has potential to I don't want to say that she's going to be a title contender, but I think that she could crack the top 10 and be a mainstay for a while.
Yeah, she's always been a very well-schooled fighter with a lot of technical ability. It doesn't necessarily, Connor and I were talking about this before the fight where she seems like somebody who's been hitting mitts since she was 5 and has all the drills down, knows all the moves and all that. But it just, in the cage, sometimes it still feels like she's trying to hit mitts.
Yeah.
But, and the problem, of course, at flyweight, a win like this, if she wanted to stay at flyweight, could put her in against somebody like Montana De La Rosa or Antonina Shevchenko or, Sabina Mazo, who are all pretty much about Yanan Wu's size. I mean, Wu Yanan is actually, she's like 5'9", which makes her really exceptionally tall, even for flyweight. But there are a lot of women in that division that just seem like they're a lot bigger than Mizuki, and if she's going to stay there, this felt like the fight that she had to win because she's infinitely more technical than her opponent. But the fight we saw was also don't stick around because there's not enough power here and physicality to be this kind of back and forth points fighter. Well, Wu Yanan almost got a card. She got a card from somebody.
Oh, well, the reason why Mizuki was able to pull this out is because she knew what she wanted to do. Wu looked like she was lost half of the time as far as what her strategy was. She bigger, stronger fighter, but she's sitting on the outside trying to outpoint her with kicks. Whereas Mizuki had to go inside if she wanted to deliver some offense, and she was pretty brutal with some of those elbows she laid in on Wu. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think that physicality would be an issue for her if she were to stay at flyweight, but I think that she's still got some time on the clock left at her career at strawweight.
Yeah, well, it's just that she's never really been a finisher,
True.
And this, even when she's landing really good hard shots here, she didn't, like I say, one judge even gave the fight to Wu.
Kind of confused me.
It's not great.
But well, yeah, I mean, I can see it because Wu was outlanding her. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. That was pretty clear, but there just wasn't anything behind those shots for Wu. So, looking at the naked stats. Yeah, Wu landed 30 more significant strikes than Mizuki, but there just wasn't anything behind him. So I thought that the correct decision was made when they gave it to Mizuki.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, especially, I'm actually surprised that Wu outlanded her by that much because it didn't really look like it during the fight. But yeah, I guess it was. I was gonna say, was it? That in a way clearly won the earlier rounds, and Wu. Because, I think everybody scored the third round for Yanan Wu, but the third round in stats was actually their closest. So, What do I know? Anyway, yeah, if it in a way drops back down to strawweight, there are plenty of fights there for her. She could even rematch Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Yeah.
Invicta bout. I know Kowalkiewicz is on the wrong side of a couple losses.
I think there's a lot of fights that could be fun there. Randa Marcos would be fun. Olivia Souza. Who's that new one from Van Buren? Brianna Van Buren.
Yeah. There are definitely some fighters who are coming in with good pedigrees out of Invicta, just like Mizuki has, that would be a lot of fun for her to face down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that brings us to our prelims and what became the featured prelim, a middleweight bout, Anthony Hernandez, Jingliang Park. And I'm going to admit this fight broke my heart just a little because Jingliang Park was like the only prelim fighter I was really interested in seeing win. He looks like a super fun counterpuncher, but just such a limited game that Hernandez was able to battle through, pretty much getting beat up for a round and a half to get this win.
I think Hernandez learned something from his loss to Marcus Perez, because he basically did the same thing to Park that Perez did to him. He stayed up in Park's face, and like you said, Park was beating him up for a while. Had the fight stayed the course that it was for the first round and a half, Park was going to take an easy decision, but eventually Hernandez's pressure just broke Park, and like you could tell that the fight was over even before Hernandez sunk in that choke. Park just looked like he was broken.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that for like a purely head-hunting boxer who tends to stand pretty tall, like you're just going to leave your legs wide open for takedowns. And even Anthony Hernandez didn't have to be that great a wrestler to start getting Park down all the time, making him have to scramble up all the time, and eventually sucking the energy out of him.
Yeah. Like I said, he just kept the pressure on him. I mean, like you said, the wrestling wasn't anything amazing by any means, but Hernandez just kept going to the well.
Yep. Good win for Hernandez. Gets him a bounce back from a rough debut loss. Tough loss for Park. I really hope they keep him around because I'd like to see his high volume counterpunching style evolve more. I want to see that carried forward. It seems like somebody who's had a really good technical schooling in one aspect of MMA and just needs to grow his game into more areas.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think he looks like he could be fun, but it's going to require a little bit more seasoning for him.
Yeah. For that bantamweight fight, Sumudarji, Andre Sukumta, and man, if This was a bad loss for Andre Sukumta. And I know part of it was almost certainly because he broke his left pinky, and that probably got into his head. But this still was just a rough loss.
Yeah. When I first saw this fight announced, I'm like, okay, well, UFC's rewarding Sukumta for giving him a murderer's row, considering his level of ability. He should easily have been able to beat Mudarji, but watching the fight through the first round, I'm like, okay, he still hasn't unloaded what's up, and then they announced that he broke his hand, and I'm like, oh god, please don't get to us mentally. And it absolutely did. I think you nailed it on the head when you said that. He couldn't even get his takedowns going. Yeah,
it was rough. And yeah, it's a tough one for Sukumta because it really did feel like it's like, well, you got a guy here who is a flashy striker, which we saw, but doesn't really have a lot of other variation in his game. And but Sukumta, I mean, unfortunately, even I don't even want to say it was just the hand, because it was. I mean, obviously that was a big part of it, but watching even from the first minute of the first round, I was like, Sukumta looks really fidgety. He just looked really off and flinchy every time Mudarji hit him with a body kick at some point early in the fight, and then every time Mudarji would step forward after that, Sukumta would automatically flinch his arms down to protect his body.
Yeah.
And he looked really out of sorts, and man, just rough performance. Mudarji on the other hand, against somebody who really couldn't track him down, didn't have the footwork to chase him down, looked way better.
Yeah, so, he was given the space to show his creativity, and he had some nice moments, obviously enough to get the victory. And I don't want to say that he didn't work on his takedown defense either, because that's what killed him versus Louis Smolka of all people. He's got some potential to continue to grow. I mean, I admit I still have my doubts about how high he can climb, but I mean, just even getting this win has already exceeded my expectations. So to hell with my expectations, right?
Yeah. It'll keep him around. It'll keep him around, especially as a filler fighter for UFC's repeated trips over to China and Southeast Asia. So
yeah,
he'll be a fun action fighter, at least, no matter what. Like, even the fight against Smolka in a loss was fun to watch, and this was a fun performance in a win. So for that, Da Un Jung, Kadis Ibragimov, and I don't know what Ibragimov was thinking. I guess maybe like he idolized Nikita Krylov or something. Like he only watched early Nikita Krylov tapes.
No, I think I can defend him on this one, because he got this fight in what, like 5 or 6 days notice.
True.
And so my guess is he realized he wasn't in the best fighting shape. So the best chance that he had to win would probably be to try to get Zhang out of there early rather than try to go 15 minutes knowing he probably didn't have the gas tank to do it. So I think he just went balls out early on. And I mean, that first round was fun as hell. And
that first round was fun as hell. It was definitely one of those things though, where you're watching that first flurry and I'm just like, this is not gonna last. This cannot. No. This cannot be the rest of a fight. Like, he either has to win right at this moment for Ibragimov, or he's lost. And that was pretty much it. It took him a while to fight to get the confidence back, I think, to actually take the fight to Ibragimov. But once he did, solid performance for him.
Well, even more impressive, though, he never looked panicked in there.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Ibragimov was just teeing off on him, he was covering up for the most part, never looked like he was scared that the finish was coming at any point. He stayed poised, stayed composed, and it's like he knew he just had to weather the storm. And, once he did, he took control of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see both these guys. Like when we were scouting them ahead of this fight, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, both these fighters look like they have some potential. They're both big. They're both athletic. They both look like they've had technical martial arts backgrounds. But they also both look like they needed a ton of seasoning. And unfortunately, this fight didn't really tell me anything. It doesn't really tell you anything more. It just is like, well, Dayan Zhang's really collected. But he, after Ibragimov just kind of went ape on him, there was really nothing else for him to do but just start picking him apart.
Yeah.
And that ninja choke he finished with, like, that looked much more like Ibragimov giving up than it looked like.
He was done.
Yeah.
He was done totally. And, again, I'm not going to say I necessarily blame him there. He emptied the gas tank. He did everything he could to stall the rest of the fight, pushing Zhang against the fence and going for takedowns and having very little success with that. But, like you said, I think that both of these guys have some potential. There's finally starting to get some fresh new young blood at 205. And I'm not going to say these guys are going to play a big part of it, but I will say that they could. So,
well, they've done a good job just going out and signing every 6'3" to 6'5" guy that looks athletic enough to compete in his 1-5 bouts.
Yeah,
which is honestly a really good way to get some contenders. I mean, that's how you end up with guys like Johnny Walker and Dominic Reyes. You just go and you're like, well, are you big? Are you athletic and scary? Have you won a few fights? Great. Let's give it a shot. Because light heavyweight, it's very much a division where if you're big enough and fast enough and strong enough, you can make a lot of things happen before you hit a wall of where somebody can really set you back, Well,
so many of the athletes that would be ideal for the 205-pound division have already been swallowed up by sports like basketball and football.
Yeah.
So if you've got that athletic advantage of that division, then you're pretty much, like you said, you're pretty much going to be one of the top ones with minimal effort.
So it's good to see them. It's good to see them get a couple guys like this. It's good to see Dayan Zhang stay composed and pick up a tough win. And, hopefully they help sort the chaff a little at the bottom of the division, just being there and being able to take fights. Because now that division's like 50 fighters deep, you're just going to, you got to start churning people through to see who comes up to the top.
Yep.
Before that, lightweight bout, Damir Ismagulov, Thiago Moises, and solid, very composed performance from Ismagulov. Get a lot more credit. He's building a lot more credit with me than I ever would have given him as a range striker, I gotta say.
Yeah,
he was absolutely such a grinder in M1, and now he's showing this great long jab cross game with some decent kicks to go with it. That's just really composed and defensively sound.
No, that's you basically took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that it wasn't necessarily a surprise that he beat Moises because, like you said, Ismagulov's been known as a grinder, and Moises lost his UFC debut to Beneil Dariush by being grinded out.
Yeah,
Ismagulov
and
didn't
he
take
lost
that approach
at least once regionally, just with that same getting pushed on the fence and held there for 3 rounds, grinding style.
But no, Ismagulov had the fight in the middle of the cage for the most part, and he was picking him apart with his boxing. You know, it was awesome performance for him.
Yeah, really solid. Puts him in a position to. It's the kind of thing that puts him in a position to go a lot further towards the top 15 at lightweight than I would have expected, just from a guy who looked like he wanted to grind and maybe wasn't strong enough to actually just horse people around and toss them around the cage, but just had to stick to some, I kind of thought of him as like Islam Makhachev, but even a notch down in athletic ability.
I could see that.
And now he looks a lot more comfortable as a striker than Makhachev, which means that he has to rely less on being a great wrestler,
Oh, yeah. I mean, Makhachev is just a bull, so he tries to overwhelm people with his power. Ismagulov's he totally outslicked Moises 100%.
Yep.
And on Moises's end, disappointing for him because even though he was clearly down after those first 2 rounds, I saw zero urgency in him to try to change things up and make a run at Ismagulov. It's just not the type of performance I was hoping for out of him, even in a loss.
Indeed. Yeah, it's too bad, especially after that Kurt Holobaugh fight where he really showed a lot more nuance in the kind of open space that Ismagulov gave him. We saw a lot of counterpunching out of Moises against Holobaugh. We saw him put some real power on Holobaugh and kind of force Holobaugh to clinch fight where he actually did quite well because it's a problem for Moises, but really did not want to be, and so kept resetting and getting back in open space and being indecisive. And Moises looked pretty good with that, but against Ismagulov, the length and Ismagulov's willingness to body punch and stay long really just took him out of his element.
Yeah, and he even abandoned trying to take the fight to the ground after a couple of pathetic takedown attempts in the second round.
Yeah.
Just Moises didn't throw everything, including the kitchen sink, in there. He just, I'll try this, I'll try that. Ah, shit, that didn't work. Well, okay, I'll go back to trying this again, and it's just disappointing. There was no tactical changes there. It was bad.
Yeah. Before that, opening the card, a bantamweight bout, Haile Alateng or Alateng Haile, I should say, because it's the way they show it, at least on the UFC broadcast, was all one name, one word.
Yeah.
And Dana Batgerel, and just kind of a solid bantamweight scrap. Decent enough. Both men looked tough and willing to throw. A higher output performance from Alateng than I had seen from him regionally. He had been really, really just like one big flashy move per minute fighter in the past. But Batgerel, I think, really actually probably pushed a pace out of him that Alateng had to meet and exceeded. So decent win.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fairly fun fight. I'm not going to say it was anything spectacular.
No,
but it was good enough that these guys got fight of the night. So they're $50K richer. I never would have guessed that heading into the card that these two would have taken it.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome. I actually just saw that now, and that's fantastic because. Honestly, like those are the kind of people I want to see getting $50,000.
100% agree with you there. It's the guys on the lower end of the card that could do something with that 50,000 extra to improve their career. Maybe put it towards their training and stuff like that for their next fight. So I 100% agree with you there. I always love to see the lower guys get the bonuses.
Yep, and I think too that they both honestly looked like they belonged there. I was worried, like watching tape on them. Dana seemed really wild and unstructured. Alateng seemed really low output. And I was just like, oh, this is just going to be an ugly, brutal mess of a fight between two people who don't look like they belong there at all. And it was fine. It looks like they can compete at the bottom end of the bantamweight division and put on some action fights. And that's more than I would have expected out of them.
Yeah. No, I don't know how competitive they'll be. I mean, like you said, at the bottom end of the barrel, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And Alateng showed some decent power. There were a couple of shots that he landed on I think they were saying Bat Garrel on the broadcast. I don't know, but either way, Bat Garrel, awesome name.
No kidding.
But it was a good fight. Bat Garrel pushed a good pace. Alateng had some heavy shots. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them back in the UFC.
No. To open the card, a women's bantamweight bout, Carol Hossa and Laura Procopio, and it was a fight. I will say, actually, once again, both of them looked a lot better than I had seen on tape. Procopio striking before she hit the UFC was some of the most awkward, uncomfortable striking I'd seen out of a pro with her level of experience. And Hossa looked super low output, just basic bare bones fundamentals. Procopio looked more comfortable, and Rosa looked higher output. They put on a better fight than I expected, but still well below standards. Even at women's bantamweight, it's going to be a tough rise for either of them.
Oh, absolutely true there. I'm not going to deny that, but women's bantamweight is not far off from men's flyweight standards, if we're being honest. There's just not very many bodies there.
Yeah, it's grown a bit. I mean, let's see, women's bantamweight at the moment, it's 31 fighters to men's flyweight being
19.
17. So it's almost 17. Double men's flyweight in size.
I was guessing, so I'm actually surprised I got that close. But
they've gone out and they're hunting for women like these. They're hunting for people who can fit the bill and be the right size and take fights. So,
if I'm not mistaken, I think that Procopio is a natural flyweight.
She does look like a natural flyweight.
Yeah, I think that she competed mostly at flyweight on the regional scene, whereas Hossa, I know she fought at bantamweight. I looked at the names that she's fought, like Pacheco and stuff like that.
Yeah,
she's definitely 135, and credit to both of them. They pushed a hard pace. They were throwing at a high rate. Let's see here. Hossa landed 171 significant strikes. Procopio 165.
Yeah, like I say, they were both a lot more active and comfortable standing than I expected. So a lot of credit to that.
And the Hossa ended up getting this win because Procopio hit a wall in that last round, and Hossa just had more in the tank. But hey, even in the UFC, you can still win fights simply by being durable and having better stamina than your opponent.
Yeah.
And if Hossa, there's plenty of women at bantamweight, I believe that Hossa could secure wins that way with. So.
True enough. All told, it was a fine. It was the card it was booked to be, which is a midnight or 3 a.m. Eastern fight. ESPN Plus International China card had a couple of good highlights. Weili Zhang getting a huge win for the strawweight title and giving the UFC another foothold to put on another big China event later in the year.
Yeah.
And Li Jingliang getting a big win to put himself into the rankings and hopefully also bolster future UFC cards in the region where they can get some bigger ranked competition against him. Did those two things, and then otherwise people showed up. They had fights. They, grain was separated from chaff, and it wasn't a lot else to write home about.
No. I mean, besides those top two fights, I would say probably the most notable win was Cara France. So, and that's very remote. But yeah, like you said, the fight fulfilled its purpose. China, they're a big winner on the night. They get Zhang and Li walking away with wins that few people expected them to get. And damn, we've got a new champion and the first one out of China.
Yeah. Only one Chinese fighter on the whole card lost, which is a great way for the UFC to, it's a great ability for them to push back for another card later and have a bunch of fighters coming off wins who can be matched up against other bigger name opponents.
So, yeah, the event definitely accomplished what they hoped it would.
All right. On that note, I think we've also accomplished what we hoped we would, which is talked about this card for a surprisingly long amount of time. And I'm going to wrap up the show. You can find me on Twitter at @TheZaneSimon. You can find Dane on Twitter at @TheDaneFox, right? I believe.
Yes, sir.
And you can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com day in, day out, and find our show on the Bloody Elbow Presents Podcast Network on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all those things. Give us a like, subscribe to our feed. We'll be back again for UFC 242 next week. Khabib versus Poirier. I'll have vivisection. I'll have a 6th round. I don't know if Eddie will be there for that or if I'll be with Dane again. Eddie is in Abu Dhabi at this point. He's going to be there live. So actually at that point, he probably won't be available for the 6th round because he'll be at the arena. Now that I think about it a little harder. So maybe you'll be back. I'll have Dane back with me for that. And we'll be diving in with all our normal shows, Level Change, Mookie Crookie Show, Pull No Punches, all that good stuff. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and pay attention to Show Money because they are dropping all the big stuff on the UFC lawsuit for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been very interesting.
Thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to this Bloody Elbow Presents production. To check out more of our content, hop over to the MMA-Nation SoundCloud and iTunes pages, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is simply titled Bloody Elbow Presents. We are also on Apple TV, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, Overcast, and Player FM. Just look for Bloody Elbow Presents, MMA Nation, or MMA-Nation for brand new shows 7 days a week, including Fighters Pick Fights, exclusive fighter interviews, Care Don't Care, the Mookie and Crookie Show, the Pull No Punches podcast, the MMA Vivisection, the Level Change podcast, the 6th Round Post-Fight Show, and more. You can follow us on Twitter at Bloody Elbow, on Facebook at facebook.com/BloodyElbowBlog, and of course on BloodyElbow.com.